Well, good morning. Most people messaged me and said that they would watch the recording. So this is the first time that I've ever recorded a class without it being at least partially live. So this is new for me, but it opens up an opportunity to not just practice recording myself, but practice keeping yoga accessible, even when it's uncomfortable for me. So in light of this being a beginner vinyasa class, I will tell you why this particular style of yoga resonates with me and quote unquote worked for me. And it's because it gets me out of my head and into my body. And for those of you who are very, very new to the idea of yoga and its philosophy and so on, that might sound a little weird because it certainly did to me in the beginning. There are things that I say that I know you're going to think like this girl has lost it, but know that I also thought those same things in the beginning when I heard my teacher speak, and eventually it all just landed when it was supposed to. So I hope the same for you, but we'll just jump right in. To begin, Vinyasa is the word itself essentially just means one breath, one movement. So as we move through the practice today, you'll notice me mentioning inhale on a certain move and then exhale on a certain move. And typically those align with you inhale when you expand and you exhale when you contract. So just real quick, we'll practice together, placing your right hand on your chest. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. Perfect. And we'll do it again now, taking our hand just a little bit lower to the bottom of our rib cage. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And you're probably feeling that expansion and contraction in your own body. I like to call that the OG, one breath, one movement, because our bodies are constantly practicing vinyasa, if you will, whether we realize it or not. It's always expanding and contracting with the breath. So that's why I say, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. So next, the style of yoga that I'm going to particularly focus on is power vinyasa. And again, this is beginner, so I'm not going to go crazy in this first class, but I will stick to the tenets of power yoga, and they follow what's called a true north alignment. It also hits on all the elements, which I think is really great, especially as we're in this Earth month. So for example, we ground down like earth. Our feet ground down into our mats. Our legs, our inner ankles are pulled back. Our ankles are down, our shins are in. We're really, really grounding. And I'll go through more of this while I'm standing a little later. But to continue, when we flow like water. So imagine this really nice, graceful, peaceful even movement, as if you were moving water with your hand. So as we practice, you're going to have that sort of feeling. We won't go very fast today, so don't worry. You'll have plenty of opportunity to flow like water. But in addition to those things, that ground down like earth, flow like water, we're going to build an inner fire. So part of why I had you place your hand on your low ribs is because this is exactly where we call the Uddiyana Bandha lock. So it is the lock in the pit of your stomach or at the bottom of your ribs that keeps your core strong. And so throughout the practice, I'll mention strengthen your core, tighten your core. And yes, I am speaking of your abdominals on the front of your body, but I'm also considering the muscles on the back. That's your whole core. It's not just the front. So keep that in mind. And when we're finding that Uddiyana Bandha lock, we're strengthening the center of our being. When we get into chakras, I'll go a little further into what that means for personality and so on. I'm going to stop myself. So we're grounding down like earth, we're flowing like water, we're building an inner fire, and we're softening like air. So imagine this softness, this lightness. Yoga is not a competition. It is certainly not a game, but it absolutely is a practice. And sometimes we have to practice softening. I know I certainly do. It's really easy to build that inner fire and get a little passionate, a little anxious, a little tense. So though we build that inner fire, we keep a softness about us. And we create space for something new. So you'll hear me say things like take up space, things along those lines you'll hear as I'm referring to the space. But remember that ether is absolutely an element. Space is absolutely an element, and you are a part of that. Yoga gives us an opportunity to tap into that. So when you feel it, you'll know exactly what I mean. So to begin, we're going to start with a short meditation. And this is just to check in with the body, understand the energy that you're bringing to your practice, and that whatever it is not good or bad. It just is. That's something else that I was really grateful to learn. That when you wake up one morning, this morning, for example, you might feel crabby. You might feel so joyful that you're just jumping up and down. You might be so tired that the first thing you think of is a cup of coffee just to get you going. But regardless of what you're feeling, we try not to label it as good or bad, because again, remember, yoga is not a competition and there's no judgment. We'll get into more of the Yoga Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, more of the, again, philosophical reasons for this practice a little later on. If you'd like to join the Facebook group to ask questions, if you're curious about anything that I mentioned that I don't elaborate on, just send me a message. My email address is yogawithkellylindsay@gmail.com. And the Facebook group, you can search for it and ask to join. If I don't invite you myself, is Yoga with Kellie. And my name is spelled Kellie. So come into a seat. You'll notice that I have a bolster here sitting, helping me sit up a little bit taller so that my back is straight. I do have my legs crossed, but if this is uncomfortable to you, that's okay. You can extend your legs out in front. It doesn't really matter so much, but eventually, if you're looking to open up your hips, find a little more flexibility, you might work towards coming into a cross-legged seat. But again, even if you're sitting in a chair, that's okay. Also in the mornings, my partner Landon is going to be moving around. So if you hear some extra noise, that's okay. That's part of having a home practice. Is sharing it with your spouse, your significant other, your kids. So I'm also going to put a playlist in the chat. And if you were to listen to Spotify or use Spotify, that'll be the playlist that I typically share. But I'll also have a backup on YouTube in case you don't want to pay for a streaming service. I like to always have a free version available. However, I can't promise that the ads won't play on the YouTube playlist, so just let that be a little sidebar for you. All right, so we're in our comfortable seat. We're sitting up really tall. Your chin will be parallel to the earth. So imagine there's this string at the top of your head and it's just pulling you up. You're straightening your spine, lengthening and grounding down through your bottom half. Now, it's typical, especially for beginners, to still have a little hunch in the shoulders. It's because of the way our lifestyle typically is these days with our phones, with our computers. You know, we're always hunched over. But the other emotional aspect of that is we're guarding our heart. So if you have been feeling down or maybe a little you've been struggling with self-esteem or some confidence, that could be just an indicator that your body is saying like, hey, I'm not feeling great. I'm in this protect mode. So pull your shoulders back. It might feel unnatural, but eventually it will become more natural to you than being slumped. So we're going to work on posture right off the bat. So your shoulders will stack over your hips. You can bring your palms to your knees, whether they're down or up is your choice. You can even have them sitting in your lap. The one key thing about having the hands in your lap is if you're a woman, place your left hand on bottom. If you're a male, place your right hand on bottom. And this is just an energetic thing. Again, if you have questions, send me an email or add it to the group. Let's begin. If it feels safe to you, close your eyes. If not, that's cool. Just look at a spot over the bridge of your nose. We're going to rest our gaze on one spot. And just start to breathe. Obviously, you're already breathing, but breathe with awareness. Notice where you feel the breath entering your body. Very quickly, you notice the air entering your nostrils. You might notice that the breath is concentrated in your chest. And then you'll notice the breath reaching down into your belly as the breath becomes more deep or deeper, more deeply present. You'll place your right hand on your belly, and we'll start to practice breathing deeply into our belly. Place your palms back on your knees. Notice if you have any tension in your face, and go ahead and soften. So start with your forehead and soften your jaw. And soften through your shoulders. And place the tip of your tongue behind your top teeth. You can relax your tongue, but slightly part your teeth. And begin to breathe in and out of your nose a little more deeply. And slightly constrict the back of your throat as if you're blowing fog on a window. And notice the sound of your breath get a little louder in your skull. That's your Ujjayi breath, your ocean breath, your sustaining breath. And we'll use it throughout the practice today to help us build that inner fire, to help us sustain in a posture when it becomes difficult, and to help us flow like water as we connect our breath to our movements. Now rest your awareness between your brow center if your eyes are closed, and notice the focus that you gain when you can combine breathing with the Ujjayi breath and focusing on your third eye. We'll practice that focus throughout the practice as well. It's called Drishti. You'll have an inner Drishti, an external Drishti, but essentially it's just a place where you rest your gaze. Everything in your peripheral becomes a little hazy as you focus on one point. This will help you maintain the true north alignment, and it'll help you practice being intentional. Which leads me to our next piece, and that's where we're going to set an intention for the practice. The title of the playlist is Beauty in the Breakdown. And that'll inspire my intention for the practice, but maybe you come needing something else: patience, confidence, a new beginning. Listen to what you need and commit to that. I was inspired by the idea of beauty in the breakdown because that's what happened to me when I found yoga, or when yoga found me. Is I realized that I had so much to learn. At 28 years old, I still had so much to learn about myself, about the world around me, about my past actions, and the fact that I could forgive not only me, but everyone that I thought had hurt me. And truly, they were just playing a role in this beautiful play called life. And now I get to sit here teaching you this practice that has changed mine. We'll take just a few more breaths. Feeling what it feels to be you this morning. And bring your palms together in front of your heart. Begin to press and rub your palms together, create a little heat. We're building that fire right here, right off the bat. And then you place them over your eyes if you want, and start to slide your fingertips down your face, slowly batting your eyes open as they pass them by. Nice, the sun's coming up. I kind of cracked the windows a little bit so that you could see the sunrise as we move into our day. So from a seated position, come off of your bolster or your block if you're using anything to lift you up, and uncross your legs if they're crossed, and put the opposite leg on top. So we're just going to switch here to make sure that we're balanced. And we'll begin with just gentle movements, connecting breath with movement, practicing right off the bat. With your arms, you're going to inhale, reach up, look up, and exhale, hands come down, eyes go right back to the original spot. We'll do that 3 more times. This time you'll reach your arms up, inhale, and exhale, twist to the left. You'll bring your left hand behind you, your right knee to your right hand to your left knee. Sit up really tall. On an exhale, hug the low ribs in and twist looking over your left shoulder. Take 3 to 5 deep breaths from the bottom of your belly, massaging your internal organs. Expanding your lungs. Sending oxygen throughout your body. Last breath. And exhale, unwind, come back to center. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. Inhale, reach your arms out. And exhale, twist to the right. This time your right hand goes behind you. Your left hand is on your right knee. Again, sit up tall. Take a breath in, and when you exhale, low ribs hug in, and you twist to look over your right shoulder. Notice if your shoulders are up in your ears, relax them down, keeping a long neck, long spine. Last breath. And exhale, unwind. Take a moment to just feel what that feels like in your body. And then we'll interlace our fingers behind our back. Pull the shoulders up and back as you press your knuckles down toward the earth. Find a slight back bend. And if it feels safe in your body, start to tilt your head back, opening up through the chest and the throat. Come back to center. Release your arms, just let them fall. You'll feel sort of tingly, almost like blood flow or water's just sliding down your shoulders. That's the good stuff. We call that prana, or your life force energy that you'll feel moving through you throughout the practice. And now we're going to come into a tabletop position, and that's where we come to all fours. I like to keep my toes tucked under first thing in the morning so that I wake up my feet. But for alignment in yoga, to stay safe in our bodies, we want to stack our joints over our bones. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but we're stacking the joints. So we've got our shoulder over our elbow, over our wrist. We have our hip over our knee. And you're looking directly down in between your hands. It's like if you could just stack or place a teacup on the back of your neck, it would stay still. So we have this flat back. Also, if you're like me and you typically sway, you've got like a sassy butt, we're gonna engage the core even here so that we're pressing our low ribs in. Now, we're gonna flow through 5 rounds of cat and cow. As you inhale, you'll drop your belly and look up toward the sky. And when you exhale, you're gonna round through your upper back body, sort of pressing your belly button towards your spine, spreading the shoulder blades and tucking your chin into your chest so that you get this nice stretch in the back of your neck. And we'll flow in and out of cat and cow, connecting breath with movement. Inhale, cat. Exhale, cow. Begin each movement at your hips. And get into your body here. Early in the morning, it might feel really good too to find some additional movement. So like maybe you curve around. Maybe you look back toward your ankles, your heels. And then we'll come back to center. For stability, we're going to practice just stepping 1 foot back for now. So right foot back, toes tucked under. I should probably step further on my mat. I do this all the time. I forget I'm tall. So 1 foot back, The idea here is that you're going to maintain that stability on your left side from your left hip staying stacked over your left knee. Then just lift that right leg up. You want to keep it in line with your right hip. It's real easy to lift it all the way up here. It's real easy to have it down here. It's easy to have your foot cocked out. I've done them all. So we're going to really focus with this intention of alignment, keeping our toes pointed toward the earth and our ankle in line with our right hip as much as we can. Now you're probably feeling some heat now. So go ahead and set that right knee back down underneath your right hip. If you're new to anything on your wrists, you might be feeling, and what I mean by that is like holding your body weight up with your wrists. You're probably feeling some tension there. So we're going to stop, sit back on our heels here, and give our wrists some therapy. So a very simple way to do that is just to flip your hands over and sort of lean back as you stretch the wrists, and then turn the palms over, fingertips pointing towards your feet, stretching the wrists in the opposite direction. The more you practice, the less your wrists will be sore as we practice these positions. So there's a lot that we're going to be doing on the wrist. So take your time and honor your body. What I mean by that is don't do anything harmful just for the sake of trying to make your pose look a certain way or try to, impress yourself or say like I did, this thing. We're doing the same thing on the left side, by the way. We're lifting that left foot up, keeping the toes pointing down, keeping it in line with your left hip. So yeah, we honor our body by listening to it. If it says, hey, no way, I'm not doing that, that doesn't feel good. Clearly, it's not going to say it with words, but you'll feel it and you'll know. It'll say it with feeling, with pain sometimes. Back off. Another thing is you want to keep your joints soft. So remember, we're softening like air here. So if you're somebody who hyperextends, soften those elbows. And then set the left knee back down underneath your left hip. You can drop your hips to either side. Sometimes holding those leg raises will be intense on the outer hips. So this is a good way to compensate for that as well. All right. So now we're going to add in a little more balance. Again, if you ever need to stop and give yourself some wrist therapy, please do it. Don't wait for me to do it. Honor your body. I'll say that 1,000 times. So again, we're going to step the right foot back, just like we did before. You're going to lift that right leg up, and maybe, just maybe, you're going to reach that left hand forward. If you feel yourself wobbly, falling over, that's great. You're learning, so please allow yourself to learn. In your left hand, spread your fingers wide. Notice if your shoulder is way up by your ear. Again, you want to pull that shoulder back so your left wrist is in line with your left shoulder. Notice here, as you hug your low ribs in, you've got that Uddiyana Bandha lock, that strength in your core that's connecting the right leg reaching out and the left arm reaching forward. Stay connected with your breath and focused on your drishti. It's like you're having a staring contest with just one spot. On an exhale, set both things back down. And by things, I mean your leg and your arm. Sit back on your heel. Give your right wrist some therapy. Over and over again, we honor our bodies. All right, back into it. This time, I won't cue as much. We're gonna come into what we call our bird dog on the left side. So lifting the left foot up, reaching the right arm forward. We'll take 5 breaths. And release on an exhale. So now, if your toes aren't already tucked under, tuck them back under. Take a deep breath in, and when you exhale, lift your knees and just let them hover. Feel your low core engage. We're going to hold this for 5 breaths. Press away from your yoga mat. And then exhale, set the knees back down. Walk your hands forward, one handprint. Shift forward so that your shoulders align it once more with your wrists. And notice how I'm in what looks like a high plank with just my knees down. That's exactly what this is. We're in a modified high plank. If I were to lift my knees up, I would be here in high plank, Phalakasana. For beginners, I don't expect that of you. As a matter of fact, I don't ever expect anything. I just expect you to show up. But while we're here, just notice this feeling once more in your core. Notice your hands are right underneath your shoulders. We're going to shift our heart forward, tuck our elbows into our side body, lead with our heart down to the mat. Inhale, lift up, look forward. This is baby cobra. And exhale, come back down. Inhale, lift your head and your heart up, look forward. And exhale, come back down. This time, inhale, maybe you straighten your arms, maybe you press through the tops of your feet for upward facing dog. And press your knees down to the mat, come back into your tabletop, tuck your toes under, and lift your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Now, I get this question a lot. Should my feet be flat? And the answer is maybe. We have what's called compression in certain poses where it's bone on bone. Like you cannot create any space there. It's just not anatomically possible. And so that goes back to this whole judgment aspect. Like if you can't do it because you're not built to do it, then stop calling it good or bad. It is what it is, and we stay present with that. So if you're here, heck yeah, that's awesome. The idea is that the distance between your hands and your feet are the same as if you're in high plank. So if you're in this high plank and you feel strong, just press back into your downward facing dog. And again, you'll notice if your heels go down, but keep this length and soften. Soften your knees, soften your elbows, and let your head just relax toward the mat. Again, I'm hugging my low ribs in, I'm pressing my hips up and back, and I'm pressing away from the yoga mat, but I'm keeping length in my neck. Adho Mukha Svanasana, Sanskrit for downward facing dog. Now, one breath, one movement. Inhale, lift up onto your toes, and exhale, press your heels down. We're stretching the hamstrings and the ankles. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, press your heels down. And again, they don't have to touch. We're just pressing them down. One more time. Inhale, lift up. And this time, we're going to tippy toe all the way to the top of the mat. Keep pressing away from your yoga mat. And bring your feet hip width apart. Bend your knees a lot. And just let your torso drape over your thighs. Let your arms just dangle here for a moment. This is Uttanasana, or forward fold. This is a perfect pose for surrender. To let go of what's no longer serving you. Maybe it's judgment, lack of awareness, gratitude for the body we live in, or the lack thereof. If you soften your low belly, you'll be able to find a little more length, reaching your head a little closer to the earth. And create a box around your head. So grab each elbow with the opposite hand and shake your head yes. And then now, just to make sure that you're really loose in the upper body. Feel the strength in your lower half as you press your feet into the earth. Again, we're grounding down. You might lift your toes up and spread them wide, and then squeeze your toes back down to the mat. You'll lift up through the arches of your feet. Press the ankles back and down. Release your arms and slowly rise up to standing. I like to think of zombies. Ugh. We've been watching The Walking Dead for years, and I really want it to be good again. All right, here we are, all the way to standing. You probably feel powerful in this moment, or you just feel like, okay, I'm standing. This is mountain pose, so eventually it will become a power pose for you. Find your Drishti, that spot where you're resting your gaze. Reconnect with your Ujjayi breath, the ocean breath that you hear in your skull. And remember your intention. There is beauty in the breakdown. We'll begin now by practicing Surya Namaskara A, or Sun Salutation A. It's a very classic sequence that you'll practice a lot in Vinyasa classes. We use it to warm the body, among other things. So inhale, reach your arms up, just like we did when we were sitting, and exhale, hands to your heart. This is a quarter sun salutation. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Last time, inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to your heart. This time, we're going to inhale and reach up and fold all the way forward, Uttanasana. Bend your knees to save your low back. Halfway lift, inhale. Again, this flat back, like you can rest a teacup or balance it on the back of your neck. We're engaging the core so that we're not swooping in our low back. And you can use a block here, I should have grabbed it, to rest your hands, or ideally, just rest them on your shins, but pull your shoulders back, creating length in the spine. This is a strengthening pose. So feel that strength in your low body, as well as in your upper body. And exhale to fold. Bend your knees, reach all the way up. Inhale, exhale, hands to your heart. That was a half sun salutation. So now we're going to take it all the way. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift. Plant your hands. Step both feet back into high plank. Lower your knees. This is for beginners. And exhale, lower all the way to your belly. Inhale, baby cobra. We've done this before. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in through your nose and a sigh out of your mouth. Lift up onto your toes and tippy toe to the top of your mat. So I'm sneakily getting you to practice really strengthening in your upper body so that we've got that dual action happening here. I'll explain what that means later. Halfway lift, breathe in. Fold forward, breathe out. Rise all the way up. Hands to your heart. We'll do that one more time, a little more fluid. Remember, we flow like water. Mountain pose. Inhale, reach up. Fold forward. Halfway lift. High plank to Chaturanga. You can lower your knees and come all the way to your belly. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. Step or hop this time to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, fold forward. Rise up, hands to your heart. One more time, reach up, fold forward. Halfway lift. High plank to Chaturanga. So this time, lower your knees, lower your heart, but keep it off of the mat. Your elbows are really tucked in, and this is probably very hard. It's supposed to be. Then shift up, upward facing dog this time. Press through the tops of your feet. Straighten your arms. So you'll notice that my thighs and my belly are lifted off of the mat. If this is too much on your low back, don't do it. Stay in baby cobra. Then we'll shift back to downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. Step or hop to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, forward fold. Rise all the way up, hands to your heart. By now, you might have a little sweat on your brow. Welcome that heat. We're burning away impurities, both literal and figurative. I've got some issues with this cord over here. Hopefully I didn't just screw it up. All right. Now we're going to begin Sun Salutation B, Surya Namaskara B. We begin this pose in mountain, yes, but when we reach out, we inhale and we sit back into chair pose, Uttanasana. So I'll workshop this just a little bit. If you can imagine sitting in a chair, that's pretty much what we're doing. But what's really important is that you remember we have this flat back. So we're not sway booty here. We're really pressing this these low abdominals in. We've got space in the upper body. You can see your thumbs out of your peripheral. And you're really trying to press down through your heels. So as you sink lower, you'll feel your inner thighs engage. Keep squeezing them in and up. So you're hugging the skin to the bone. On your next exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift. High plank to low plank. Upward facing dog or baby cobra. To downward facing dog. This time we'll lift the right leg. Similar to earlier, try to keep it in line with your right hip and make sure that your left knee is unlocked. You don't want to hurt a hamstring. You also notice that my right foot is flexed, so my toes are pointing toward the mat. This is going to allow me to hug my right knee into my chest and then set it down on the mat. We're coming into warrior one here. So with your left foot, you want to set it down so that your left toes are sort of pointing toward the front left corner of your mat. Your feet are sort of on a railroad track, so they're separated, but parallel if you were to see two lines running between your feet. Your front knee will stack over your front ankle. So again, we're bone stacking here. Engage your core and lift up. Something I see often is this front hip will point forward. You want to make sure that your hips stay in line. So pull that hip crease back. Reach up, look up, maybe you look back and exhale, hands to your mat. Step back into high plank, flow through your Vinyasa. This is your Chaturanga to upward facing dog to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. We'll go right into the left side. Lift your left leg. Look between your hands, so know where you're going. Pull that left knee in, set your left foot down, step your right foot out and make it flat. Stack the left knee over the left ankle and rise up. Reach up, look up. Maybe this time you open up and exhale, hands to the mat. High plank to low plank, upward facing dog to downward facing dog. This time we're going to take 3 breaths in through the nose, sigh out of your mouth. It might feel ridiculous, but eventually it's going to feel very incredible as we let go of what's no longer serving us, that stale air, maybe some stale emotions, just let it out. Look between your hands, lift onto your toes, step or hop to the top of your mat, lift up halfway, fold forward. Rise up, reach up, look up, hands to your heart. Focus. Soften. Breathe. There's beauty in the breakdown. We have a beautiful opportunity when we practice yoga to pay attention to our reactions, to the poses, to the practice, to the teacher, to ourselves. And we learn to carve out what we like and leave what we don't. This is where we really get to be excavators, if you will, of our inner world. There's a saying, you live in your head, make it a nice place to be, and that's definitely true. And yoga can help you do that. We'll flow through one more sun salutation B for practice. So again, focus your drishti. Check in with your ujjayi breath. Remember your intention. Then with an inhale, reach up. Exhale, chair pose. Forward fold. Halfway lift. High plank to chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Right leg lifts. Step it forward between your hands. Set that left foot down, warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Reach up and back. And exhale, hands to the mat. Flow through your vinyasa or skip it and go straight to downward dog. This is your practice. I am just a guide. Left side, lift your left leg. Step forward. Right foot bumps out. Warrior one. Reach up and back. Hands to the mat. Vinyasa or don't. Take 3 breaths. Look between your hands, know where you're going. Lift onto your toes, bend your knees, step or hop to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, forward fold. Rise to standing, chair pose, and mountain pose. Hands to your heart. Sometimes even when I'm teaching, I'll have thoughts that I don't know where they come from, but that one was just grace. And I don't know if that was for myself or for someone listening, but have grace. Sweet. So now we're going to come down to a seat. Again, this is a beginner's class, so we're not doing a whole lot, but you'll notice if you're sweating a little bit that it doesn't take a whole lot. It takes you showing up and practicing with intention. So with your knees bent and your feet flat on the mat, we're going to practice boat pose, Navasan. Start to lean your shoulders back, keeping them in line with your hips, and you'll feel your core engage. Keep your gaze forward so that your chin is still parallel to the earth-ish. And then reach your arms forward, thumbs up, pinkies down. And we're going to start with just one leg. Lift one leg up off the mat. If you're shaking, that means you're doing it right. Good job. And then set it back down. Lift your left leg. Maybe your knee stays bent, maybe your leg is straight. It doesn't matter really, as long as you feel that you're using the proper muscles. So that being said, relax your jaw for those of you who are tight in the face. Again, I know these things because I've done these things, not because I'm judging. And then set that left foot back down. Lean forward. I learned this from Terry Hargrove, one of my teachers. It's pebble pose. So just rest your forehead on your knees and give yourself a break. And we'll lift back up and begin again. This time, maybe you lift both feet off the mat. Again, you keep this long spine, this engaged core, this Uddiyana Bandha, the low ribs are hugged in, so you've got this lock in the pit of yourself, your body, and you're breathing, Ujjayi breath. You're gazing right over your toes, maybe. There's so much happening in your body, but if you just focus, it doesn't feel as crazy because you know why you're doing it. You know why you're experiencing it. It's on purpose. Now, what if you straighten your legs a little bit? If you're like, whoa, girl, then just bend them again. It's okay. But we'll just practice that a couple times. What does it feel like? And then set them down. Once again, sit up tall. And if you need a break, give yourself one. And we'll sit up, scoot our bums to the middle of our mat, and lie all the way back, hugging your knees into your chest. This should feel really good as you massage those muscles that were just really working for you. You can even rock side to side, massage your kidneys, your low back. It might feel really good to send your knees in circles. Go 3 or 4 times in one direction. And then switch and go in another. By the way, welcome to my apartment. It's one of the beautiful things about a home practice, especially when you're teaching people in their homes, is that becomes your sacred space. All right, just a little more core here, because in power yoga, that's very, very important. I'm not trying to make you hate me. I'm trying to make you love yourself. So for those of you who are new to core strengthening, I want you to support your low back here. So palms flat on the mat. You might lift your bum up a little bit and just place your palms underneath the outer parts of your hips. Tuck your shoulder blades underneath your back so that you can anchor your shoulders on the mat. Neck is long, jaw is soft, and we're going to extend both feet to the sky. Similar to our approach with boat pose earlier, Navasan, we're just going to start with one leg. So as you inhale, lower your right foot, let it hover over the mat, and exhale, bring it back to center. Left foot, inhale, extend, exhale, brings it back to center. We'll do that 2 more times on either side, so 3 times total. Now, if you're like, heck yeah, I'm feeling groggy, I'm going to do this. We're going to do both legs. Inhale, exhale. I love you, bye. Inhale, exhale. Last time, inhale, exhale. Bend your knees, bring your feet flat to the mat. The soles of your feet come together, your knees fall apart. Place one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. This is Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined butterfly. As a musician, I look for rhythm. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's just because it's what I do. I'll encourage you to find the rhythm in your own heartbeat here. And how can you make it a symphony with your breath? Notice where your mind goes when it gets quiet. Notice with loving awareness, never with judgment. We learn so much about ourselves on this mat, on your mat. And that's where the change happens, because then we get to take it off of our mat. We get to take us off of our mat and into the world, changed. A little kinder, a little more beautiful. And with an exhale, press your knees together and walk your feet apart. We'll make like this tent shape with the knees. Feet can come as wide as your yoga mat. And just take your arms out into a cactus or a goalpost shape. And notice what this feels like. And begin to walk your feet back in line with your hips. Place your right ankle on top of your left knee, so a little above it. Keep your right foot flexed throughout this figure 4 that we're going into, or soup to pigeon, however you want to see it. Lift your left foot off the mat so that your shin becomes parallel to the mat or the ceiling. And then reach through this little cubby hole you've created and grab your left thigh, or maybe you're in front of your left shin. Honor your body, so don't go too far. You're going to feel a deep stretch in the outer part of your right hip. We're stretching the glutes here, as well as opening up the hip. So keep your neck long, spine long. And we'll take about 3 more really, really, really deep breaths here. So deep breath in through the nose and out of the nose. Twice more. With an exhale, set your left foot back down on the mat. Uncross your right foot. And we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So left foot or left ankle to right knee. Lift your right foot off the mat so that your shin is parallel to the earth and ceiling. Grab your right thigh. And we'll take about 5 breaths total in this figure 4. And with an exhale, set your right foot back down and cross your left ankle. Extend your left leg out and long and hug your right knee into your chest. I like to interlace my fingers and place them on the front of my right knee so that I can really hug my right knee into my side body. This gives me a deep stretch in my right hip. And then if you stay focused in that left leg, you'll also feel it in your left hip flexor on the front of your hip. And now place your left hand on the outside of your right knee. Extend your right arm out into a T, palm facing up. That's important. And with an exhale, you're going to cross that right knee over your left side body. If you want, you can use a block or a bolster or a pillow or a book or whatever you have at home, rolled up towel to rest your knee on. And if it feels safe in your upper spine, take your gaze and look over your right shoulder. Take about 3 to 5 really deep breaths here. And exhale brings you back to center. Hug your right knee one last time, give it a big squeeze. And then we're going to switch sides. Extend your right leg. Hug in your left knee. Again, you can interlace your fingers around the front of your left knee just to give it a nice squeeze. And extend your left arm out into a T by your left shoulder. Palm facing the ceiling. Right hand on the outer part of your left knee. And with an exhale, cross your left knee over your right side body and look over your left shoulder. And breathe deeply. And exhale brings you back to center. Hug your left knee one last time. And then extend both legs out into Shavasana, corpse pose, your final rest. If you're feeling any low back sensitivity, I'll encourage you to use a rolled up blanket or a rolled up towel, a bolster, or if you have blocks, place them, the rolled up items, place them under your knees. If you're using blocks, place them under your thighs. And this will release some of that tension so that you can really relax here in these final moments of your practice. It's easy to want to skip this or to rush through it, but arguably it's one of the most important parts of your practice because this is where all that you've done, all the work that you've done integrates. Your nervous system gets to adjust. Because in yoga, we don't just practice the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, the high anxiety, the racing heartbeat, the sweatiness, all that we know in the West, the productivity, go, 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 go. It's equally as important to practice working with your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest, so that your body knows how to relax and restore. I'd say in a home practice, at minimum 5 minutes, give yourself. But if you can give 10, take it. You'll look forward to this. In my 75-minute Power Vinyasa class on Wednesdays at 6:30 a.m., we have at least a 10-minute Shavasana after working so hard. So take a deep breath in through your nose, the biggest breath you've taken all morning. Hold the breath and very slowly let it go. And feel all the tension leave your body. As you rest, when your mind wanders, and it will, that's what it does, practice bringing your awareness back to the sound of your breath, much like we did in the beginning of practice. One breath, one movement. And begin to deepen your breath. Become aware of the peace that you've conjured. And know that this is always there, just waiting for you to tap into it. You don't have to go anywhere to get it. You technically don't have to spend any money to get it. You just have to be present, intentional, and open. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And stretch your arms and legs in opposite directions. And hug one knee in and then the other. And roll to your right side for energy, your left side for digestion, or don't even think about that, just what feels right today. Come into a fetal position as you hug your knees into your chest. We'll take a pause here. This closing sequence is symbolic of the creation, the life, the death, and the rebirth that we experience on our mats. This is where we get to decide what we take with us and what we leave behind. And gently press into your mat as you slowly rise up into a seat. I like to keep my eyes closed here just to stay present with my energy. We bring our palms together in front of our heart. This is Anjali Mudra. If you've ever wondered what Namaste means, it can be hello, it can mean I love you, it can mean I see you. But my interpretation is the light in me sees, loves, and honors the light in you. We lift our thumbs to our third eye and we bow to our highest selves. Namaste. Thank you for watching back on this recording. If you have questions, please reach out to me in the group via email. I will attach the link to the playlist for this class, as well as information on how to contact me and donation information if you're interested in donating to keep these classes going. Don't ever let that deter you from practicing. However, I'm teaching these classes and keeping them accessible just so that people are practicing yoga. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll see you next week. We'll learn some more poses. We'll strengthen a little more. And each week you'll notice changes in your body, changes in your mood, just changes.